on 531 PI.
This is Pacific Mornings. It's 8:09. It's great to have your company. I'm William Terite in the chair with you through until 9 a.m. Now, the New Zealand film industry is anxiously awaiting more details of Donald Trump's move to slap 100% tariffs on movies made outside the United States. The US president says Hollywood is dying a very fast death due to the incentives that other countries like New Zealand are using to attract American filmmakers. Jeremiah Tauamiti is an award-winning screenwriter, director and a founding member of the Pacific Island Screen Artists. Joins me now. Talofa, thanks for your time.
Yeah, Talofa, it's good to be here. Thank you.
What do you make of this tariff situation from Trump?
Yeah, really interesting. It's probably, I think people, when they hear about the tariffs and Trump and stuff, I think obviously they get pretty anxious and they start to panic. But I think right now it's all the details, all the nitty gritty, I guess, hasn't been worked out. But yeah, I would say that people have to start looking, I guess, at how it's going to affect their productions. There's definitely a lot of productions that come here for rebates and tax incentives, and that's been really positive for New Zealand filmmakers. But I think for me, the main thing is that the tax rebates has always been something that supports the workers, but I'm not necessarily sure how it actually supports our creators. As in, what I mean is that when US production companies come here, we're often, supplying the crews and stuff, and it's obviously really good for our economy. But at the same time, I'm not sure if our actual filmmakers and like our directors and writers and are actually benefiting from locally made productions or locally made voices, if that makes sense.
Yeah, indeed. I hear what you have to say. Okay, with that in mind, I mean, look, television projects, film projects, they're notorious for having huge costs associated with them. You've spoken a wee bit about the impact tariffs might have. I mean, does this ultimately, cause a bit of a kick up our own backsides to be more anxious or be more careful about what's about to happen? I mean, in terms of preparation, what does the Pacific screen industry need to do you think?
It's a little bit hard to say, to be honest, because I think it's still pretty early, I don't think there's any need to hit the panic buttons. I think, like the Pacific filmmakers and stuff and TV productions, we've always done our own thing because we haven't necessarily had it. I mean, it's very hard to get locally made productions made here. And if we look at like numbers wise, Pacific productions, I mean, Tina, recently the success that's had. And then you get other filmmakers like Stallone by Aotearoa with his hits, and they're all independently made films. But they're few and far between, even someone like Tusi Tamasese, who's made a few films. All of these films do really well internationally, but we're not producing a whole lot, like consecutively all the time. It's not consistent, and so they're hits. But I think if we were to do a comparison, like Pacifica films, you could probably count them on one hand how many have been made in the last decade, So I think we just continue to keep doing what we're doing, and I feel like what this is going to force New Zealand to do is focus on locally made content and supporting locals. Like that's always been hard. Like we have to compete against the US, but if anything, hopefully what this is going to do is put up more of a focus on guys like Miki Mangasiva and Stallone. And, hopefully the Film Commission or New Zealand On Air are going to keep pushing to support us so that we can compete with, US productions. I feel as if too long we've probably been the workers for some of these big productions. And only that. So hopefully I don't know, like it's like I say, it's still early days, but hopefully this just encourages locally made content because maybe a while ago we used to have a charter where New Zealand productions had to be encouraged and had to be financed, but we got rid of the charter you know, maybe 20 years ago. Something it feels like that long, and so hopefully, like Australia, are very good at promoting and producing Australian-made productions. I feel as if maybe New Zealand has to go back to that so that we can get filmmakers and like the Mickeys, as much support as possible. Because if that happens, then we get actors, local actors and local crew uh, being exposed to overseas competition. And although New Zealand is a small, like it's small fish, but we actually do very, very well as far as creatively.
Yeah. And look, let's just, in terms of your experience, your documentary Family Faith and Footy, which won Best Documentary and Best Pacifica program at the 2024 Television Awards. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong. That was shot in 5 countries, wasn't it? I mean, what's involved in securing funding for those type of ventures?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's pretty hard, but I think what New Zealand On Air has done recently, and TVNZ, we had a lot of support from TVNZ as well. I think they're always just primarily focused on story. And so it's a risk trying to shoot and make a film in different countries. Um, but the good thing is they're looking at the story, and if it's a good story, then they're going to go for it and they're going to support it. But at the same time, that means having producers who know how to handle budgets. And the only real way that we're going to do that is by getting out there and trying to do it. So if New Zealand, for example, continues to support local filmmakers, and we allow our filmmakers, producers to, I guess, level up and make content whereby we have to go over to. So we went over to the UK and we shot because our interviewees were over there. Went over to the islands. Um, Now that's really expensive, to do, and so we need people who have the experience and the expertise to be able to handle budgets, to be able to handle overseas crew, because we couldn't send our crew or myself to all of those places. So we had local production companies, and this is what I'm talking about. Is we're actually empowering locals in Fiji and Samoa to shoot some of the stuff that we couldn't, and so. Yeah, if we do it right, we can go full circle. And in that production, our producers and that film was able to support Pacifica filmmakers in Samoa to shoot a portion of our film, and Fiji as well. And then obviously we couldn't fly a whole crew over to the UK, and so we went with bare minimum crew-wise over to the UK, and then we were able to hire a couple of guys over there. So it wasn't as if we had an endless pot of money. We still had to be smart, and so that's you can only do that if we're able to level up our producers here. And so the tariffs in some way, obviously there could be negatives, but the positives is always trying to empower our locals.
Yeah, yeah, I see the point you're making. Look, let's. I know this. A bulk of this interview, frankly, is just going to be hypotheticals because it's still early, as you
Yeah,
mentioned. But
that's
let's
right.
let's play the hypothetical game just for a second. What reprehensible damage do you think these tariffs could cause to the New Zealand screen sector?
Yeah, I guess if America imposes the tariffs, then it means that less productions will come over to New Zealand, and less productions. And you're talking about productions like Avatar is probably the biggest one, and that brought in a lot of money to the economy. When films come here, they get a rebate or a tax incentive where they get, I think it's like 20% that they get to claim back. And if they spend a certain amount while they're here, they also get a further 5%. So that's 25% of their budget goes back to them. And so with that, a lot of crew. Anybody who knows anything about the film industry and productions like Avatar, for example, there there are literally hundreds of people that were able to be employed, and over a long period of time as well. So if films like that are halted, it just means that those people don't get to work on productions like that. Um, and so I guess, you know, what I was talking about before, hand in hand with that means that local productions have to level up. They have to make things ourselves and not solely rely on those big productions that come over. So definitely that's going to be that's going to be felt by a lot of people if big productions don't come over here.
Yeah, indeed. Look, let's look introspectively for a moment. I mean, what further action would you like to see from the New Zealand government to push back on this tariff? Does our government need to be a lot more vocal in its opposition against it? Again, it's early days, but we've already seen in the past, if I think of the economical tariffs, our government hasn't really wanted to get into tit for tat with the Trump administration. Rightfully so, it's a massive country. But should we be standing on business, for lack of a better phrase, when it comes to the screen and film industry? And should we be condemning this?
I think we just have to be smart with how we counter. I don't know if we should necessarily be trying to. I don't know if we should be trying to counter America in their own game, if that makes sense. I feel as if we should
Hmm.
place ourselves in a position whereby we are still going to be able to survive, whether they come here or not. I know New Zealand's always sort of tried to do that, but personally, this is just my opinion, and I'm most probably completely wrong. But personally, I think we need to look back at locally made and how we're going to be self-sustaining. Um, Obviously, economically, if films don't come here, that's going to be a major setback. But I think it's time that we just need to try to be a little bit more smart in the way we deal with the proposed tariffs. It has to always come back to how are we going to survive and how our creators going to survive. And if that means that at a certain level we have to do things differently, then so be it. But I don't think we should be standing there trying to counter what America does. I think we can still survive just doing I guess in a way, forging our own path.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Hey, look, a cheeky question for you. It'd be remiss of me not to ask, though. You've usually got several projects on the go. Are you working on anything at the moment?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, it's interesting that this came through because I was just overseas. I was in Sydney yesterday, and working on a project um, on a very well-known combats, martial arts, or uh, well, first off it was kickboxing, and it was boxing, and then it became MMA. So working on a trainer who's done some amazing things, has trained multiple world champions, and then he's an elderly Tongan man. Can't say too much at the moment, but yeah, working with an elderly Tongan trainer at the moment and telling his story. And I was overseas spending a bit of time with Mark Hunt, who's well known in the
Cool.
MMA
Yeah.
circles, and so yeah, telling his story. This elderly Tongan man has been in Sandringham for a while, training fighters since the 80s, and really looking forward to making that documentary. Sort of in the last phases at the moment, and yeah, yeah, working on that, and it's been really good. It's been really, I think this old, sorry, I don't know, I shouldn't say old, but this seasoned trainer deserves to be celebrated because, like I say, he's trained multiple world champions, and to put it into perspective, our All Blacks, for example, have only won two World Cups, but this one of his fighters has won 6 world champions. So I think he's doing pretty good, and yeah, he should be known and celebrated.
Exciting stuff indeed. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time to chat about a wide-ranging myriad of things. That is Jeremiah Tauamiti. You have a good rest of your day, eh?
You too. Thank you very much.